Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new Freddie Gibbs and Madlib project. It's called Bandana. Freddie Gibbs, Indiana rapper, up until a couple of years ago, I didn't really get the hype on this guy. And by that, I kind of mean I really wasn't that hyped about him before he teamed up with Madlib for Pinata. I had heard his albums before that, and I thought that he was kind of one-dimensional and just faceless and didn't have a ton of personality, and some of the hooks he was hopping on were just a little cheesy for my liking. In 2011, he teamed up with Madlib for Pinata, one of the most heralded and critically acclaimed and fan-loved hip-hop crossovers of the last couple of years, myself included. It's one of my favorites of the last 10 years or so. Now, while I wasn't that into Freddie Gibbs before Pinata, Madlib is someone that I've grown up with practically. Some of the first rap albums I ever bought were his stuff with MF Doom, aka Madvillain, and his stuff as his alter ego Quasimodo. And after the release of Pinata, I actually have grown to like some of Freddie's projects that he's put out since then, and Madlib is always staying busy, but ever since I've kind of been curious to see what would happen if they teamed up again, which leads us here today to Bandana, the very hyped second album of Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. Let's chat about it. So it starts off with Obrigado. It's not that much of an intro. It's sort of just a big, long movie sample of some sort. But in a weird way, it does get me hyped and does remind me of just who I'm dealing with on this album. But with freestyle shit, very quickly you realize it's the same old Freddie Gibbs and the same old Madlib in the best way. And while I say it's the same, it is to an extent, but in a weird way, there's also a totally different beast right away. I love the laid-back and soulful beat here, but I think what's most interesting is Freddie's lyrics. I mean, he's always been very blunt, very straightforward, but as far as personal bars goes, I feel like this is a new high for him. But it's far from soft. No, it's actually still as intense, still as technically gifted. I just honestly feel like I know Freddie better in a few minutes than I have in the last few years. Not to mention the old school and dusty approach to this beat is just brilliant. Great start to this album. Crime Pays, in every single way, is the perfect track for these two. I love the dreamy and jazzy beat that's just brought down so many levels with Freddie's very grisly performance. It's very dreamy, it's very jazzy, but it's also very violent, very grisly, very vicious, much like the work of Quasimodo years ago. That sampled hook is absolutely brilliant, and in every way, this is the sound I was hoping to hear. And Freddie sounds on top form like he destroys this verse. Great track. And let me tell you, since this album dropped, I really have been just playing Palmolive featuring Pusha T and Killer Mike again and again. The beat is super classy, the production is super classy, but Freddie instantly brings it down and shows that grisly underbelly with his performance once again. I mean, sort of like the lyrics on Pinata a few years ago. If the life and times of the modern gangster doesn't do much for you, this album might not do much for you either. But I digress, because this track is absolutely nuts, and Pusha T and Killer Mike absolutely kill it in their respective verses. Not to mention, I love the genuinely tragic underbelly to this track yet again. Then we have Giannis featuring Anderson .Paak. This, to me, just works on all cylinders. It's the same Freddie Gibbs and the same Madlib, just in a slightly different formula. First off, the beat here sounds like a Madvillainy reject, but like the best one. Now, Anderson .Paak's hook is alright. I don't think it's certainly not bad. I actually think his verse is a whole lot better. But the rest of this track is a real treat. The smoky samples are great, and some of Gibbs' one-liners here are incredible, especially that one about Ace Hood. My God. No, it's just becoming very evident very quick that Freddie and Madlib have so much to offer still. Not to mention, I feel like every time I drop my guard, Freddie and Madlib bring something new to the table and completely recharge and completely rechange their entire sound. Take, for example, Education featuring Black Thought and Yasin Bey, aka Mos Def. This track, to me, hits so hard and literally takes me back to my teen years when I was listening to guys like Mos Def, listening to guys like MF Doom and Talib Kweli and stuff from Madlib as well. It's just such a jazzy and smart tune, so much so that Bey and Black Thought literally sound right at home, and none of these three hold any punches in their verses. Spoiler alert, if you haven't realized it already, this is freaking awesome for an album, and easily the best thing in rap I've heard this year. However, there are 2 or 3 tracks that really kind of don't hit me as hard as I'd like, and kind of just make me want to go back and listen to Pinata more. I have a lot of weird feelings on Half Man, Half Cocaine. I certainly do like the ultra-aggressive verses, those are great. But the production here is, like, actually really odd and out of place, to say the very least. Now, in a lot of weird ways, this kind of just sounds like a randomly generated SoundCloud rap track. However, I can't completely hate this track because the beat switch up halfway through is genuinely brilliant and beautiful. Situations also throws me off a little bit. And it's weird because, as far as Freddie's performance goes, I think he's like the absolute star here. As a matter of fact, he gets like an A+ in my book. It's great to hear him this emotional. There isn't anything goofy or soft about this. No, this is just a genuinely personal tune. But once again, the production here is a little different, a little odd. The beat's actually pretty cool. As a matter of fact, I think it's great, and I like the nocturnal vibe, but there's just a disconnect on this track between Freddie and Madlib that I haven't heard anywhere else. And goddamn, it is literally the worst track here in a big way as far as I'm concerned. And I feel like it's for all the opposite reasons. I actually love the production here. I love how jazzy and breezy this one gets. Now, it's not like Freddie can't pull off an emotional track here. See Practice, which we'll chat about in a few. But the last thing I want to hear him doing here is this horribly awkward rap singing. Like, no thank you. It's a shame because this track could have been really great. The beat and the production are fine. It's just Freddie that I'm not sold on here. But I digress. The rest of this album is awesome and exciting and a completely ridiculous new chapter in one of rap's greatest odd couple pairings. It's moments like Massage Seats that I can't just help but sit back and just be completely stunned. While this may not be Madlib's best beat here, it still has tons of personality and tons of soul. But Gibbs on this album, alongside Madlib, challenge each other so wonderfully. Freddie often brings out the dark and twisted underbelly of almost every one of Madlib's beats. On the other hand, Madlib brings to the table some of his more intricate beats in years and challenges Freddie to get more creative and go harder. And that's what happens here. Freddie here has one thing on his mind and dominating any beat that Madlib brings to the table. And that's exactly what he does here, and he sounds explosive. So much so that I have to pause every once in a while and catch up with what he's saying. The chemistry between these two continues onto tracks like Fake Names. Once again, like I said, Madlib's beats continue to be on their A game, but there is a nocturnal side to them that I haven't heard in a really long time. Like, from a distance, these are pretty standard rap tunes, this one going into relationships and adultery, things that we've heard from in the past, even from Freddie and probably Freddie and Madlib as well. But the delivery here and the chemistry between these two make it so damn fresh. Even in more straightforward sounding tracks like Flat Tummy Tea, these guys are so on the same level that they sound so new. This is one of the punchiest tracks of the bunch with incredible word-liners and some of Freddie's best wordplay here. This one also has a really weird cinematic vibe underneath, almost like it belongs in some very gritty, dark neo-noir movie. And once again, this beat switch up is just beautiful, just enough to switch things up a little bit. For a somber tune, Practice is absolutely gold. Once again, Freddie gets personal with us, bringing in relationships and jealousy and breaking up with the streets, as he puts it. You end up really actually feeling for him in a weird way here, just about as much as you can. And honestly, it's something that I wasn't really expecting to hear on this album, but I'm glad that I am. Cataracts, on the other hand, is freaking classy. I mean, this is literally just a throwback weed jam, but Freddie has a way of making it all come across, once again, so fresh. Once again, in a weird way, this does also have that sort of very dark alternate reality side to it that Quasimodo stuff had years ago. But I eat that up any day. This is freaking great. And from a production standpoint, Cataracts might be the best track here. This album ends off with Soul Right, and honestly, it really ends up tying up a lot of the themes that this album has brought to light. But don't get it twisted, Freddie sounds just as laser-focused, just as intense, just as fired up. He's not slowing down. Honestly, it just makes me want to hear more from these two, and I really just hope that it's not the end of their working partnership with one another. So while Freddie and Madlib's odd couple pairing still is one of the more weirder and unexpected partnerships in modern rap, it still continues to be one of the most exciting and most fresh. I literally feel like on almost every track here, Freddie and Madlib are trying to push each other in like the best possible way. Freddie brings out the dark, gritty underbelly to Madlib's beats and production that I feel like have always been there, but I haven't heard this prominent in years. Meanwhile, Madlib's beats are bringing out some of the more interesting wordplay, the intense performances, and the creativity in Freddie Gibbs' lyrics and performances, and I love to hear that. And the best part about this album is it's great for entirely different reasons that Pinata was great. Like, this is so fresh. This is so new. I'm shocked that this album is so fresh and not a single idea has really taken over from Pinata. It is exciting and the best rap album that I've heard all year. I'm feeling a light night on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a good day, guys.